Alright, so I got some more stuff for the LJ. I'm going to go ahead and install my slip yoke eliminator. I actually went with Rough Country this time, just because it's the most affordable slip yoke eliminator on the market that I could find that is well regarded and has a history of reliability. I know a bunch of people running this kit from Rough Country, and I know of at least a few guys that are running 37s. So I'm not worried about strength or reliability with it. Since the Jeep has 236,000 miles, I also have some new bushings for the shift fork, and I have a new chain. I'm also going to replace the transmission pan gasket while I've got transmission fluid all over the floor. And I've got a new transmission mount, since the engine mounts are brand new. And I'm going to be under there. And I have a rear drive shaft for the LJ from Rough Country too. Same deal, I only bought it because it was the most affordable option. But the first one I ordered, the box was so destroyed that it was missing, U-joint caps and stuff. I emailed Rough Country, and instead of just sending me a U-joint, which is all I really wanted, they sent me a whole nother drive shaft. So now I have 2 drive shafts. Alright, I'm going to start by removing the transmission skid plate. But this just got a whole lot harder. This bolt is stripped out inside, or the weld nut has come off. So it's just spinning now. So I'll have to cut that, unfortunately. I think for now I'm just gonna spin this skid plate out of the way. There. Now I can do all this. That's really annoying. That desperately needed to be changed. Wow, that is the brownest fluid I've ever seen in a transfer case. Ugh. Alright, I got the transfer case out. That was way more of a hassle than it was in the YJ. There's so much other stuff bolted to this, like the shifter mechanism is bolted back here, and the exhaust. And there's an exhaust bracket in the way, and there's a, the transmission mount is in the way under this, and it's just, there's a lot going on right here. But I got it out. I'm not going to go into too much detail on installing the slip yoke. I have another video where I installed one on my YJ, and I recorded that with some pretty good detail, so I'm just going to blow through this really quick. I know you don't have to take the transfer case out to do the slip yoke eliminator, but this one was leaking right here where it bolts to the back of the transmission. So while I have it out, I'm going to replace the output seal on the transmission since I have access to it. And I can tell this has been off before because they tried to fix that leak by putting some sealant on it, and that was never going to work. So I'm going to change that output seal. Need to get this cleaned up. It's got dirt all over it. And I'm going to change the transmission pan gasket at the same time. And that transmission fluid looks perfect. It looks brand new, bright pink transmission fluid. So I feel good that the transmission is in good shape. I hope it stays that way. And while I got everything apart, I'll clean up the bracket for the transmission mount and put the new one on. So get all that done, get this rebuilt, or get the slip yoke eliminator put in this, put it all back together, and hopefully be driving it pretty soon here. This chain isn't actually too bad. I'm pretty sure the chain in my YJ was worse than this one. There, come on, baby. I was cleaning up all these parts and I realized why the fluids seem to be in such bad shape. The filter for the pickup was just packed full of like RTV debris. So the pump was probably starving for fluid, which is why the fluid looks so burnt, I guess. I don't know. There was a lot of junk that fell out of the pickup. So not good. Doesn't seem to have hurt anything too bad. I actually don't need to trim that. I measured that shaft right there and I actually don't need to trim it, so that's really nice. I had to do that on my last one. Alright, it's been a few days since I started this, but I got the transfer case all buttoned up. It's ready to go. I got a new seal for the output of the transmission. My AutoZone had it in stock. Duralast 710058. So I'm going to go ahead and knock that out, and I'm going to go ahead and make a big mess and replace the transmission pan gasket. Then I'll start putting everything back together. Make sure it's the right seal before I tear this thing apart. Yep, that's the right one. Yes, dear?
It got moved to Dr. C's tomorrow, too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so...
Hey, while you're up there, can you help me?
Yeah.
Can you hand me the brake clean that's on the workbench? Hey! It's on. Alright, I got the pan cleaned up. There was like, I don't know, what some kind of gasket maker was on here that was rock hard, so I finally got it all off. And I started taking the die grinder and going over this with a Scotch-Brite, and I got to the point where I was taking the paint off, so I think it's as clean as it's going to get. This pan is really pitted in some spots. but it's clean now. Magnet's clean. They had a really crappy silver paint job that they had done. Just spraying this with brake cleaner was melting the paint and it was coming off, so. I'm going to put it back together. If it leaks again or if it starts to weep or anything, I'm just going to get a new pan. I'm not going to keep messing with this one. I did put it face down on the table and it is flat, so. New gasket looks like it'll be good. I might put a very thin smear of RTV, at least on the pan side, just because it has so many pits in it, just to help it a little bit. I want just a very thin smear. Alright, I'll go put this on. Alright, I got the pan back on with the new gasket. Everything's torqued. I've let this sit for over 24 hours now to make sure the RTV and everything is set up. Transfer case is back on, bolted on. All the linkages and connectors and everything are back on. I think I'm ready to bolt the drive shaft back in and put some fluid in everything. I'll do this drive shaft first, get it out of the way of the jack. I've been under here 5 seconds and I've already got dirt in my eyes. Alright, so here's the drive shaft from Rough Country for the LJ, and this looks a little short to me, but I guess it'll extend maybe enough. I don't know, we'll see. I'll get it up in there. I think this is rated for like a 4 to 5 inch lift, and the LJ has just under 2 inch lift suspension, and with the belly up, that's another 2 inches roughly, so this theoretically should be the correct size, but we'll see. Made in USA. We'll give it a shot. It's kind of short. Okay. I guess it is long enough. Alright, I'm sorry I doubted you, Rough Country. This fits perfect. Don't hit the motorcycle. Don't hit the motorcycle. Okay. Whew. Okay, so here's my new belly pan. This is from Under Cover Fabworks. It's specific for the 03 and newer TJ LJ automatic. I opted for the 1/4 inch version. You can get it in 3/16, but it's not that much more expensive, and you can get the 1/4 inch, which is what I got. And this thing is heavy, but it is solid steel. It's also like half the depth that the stock one was. So I'm gonna get this slid in. It's still a little bit wet, but it's getting ready to rain outside, so I couldn't leave it out there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put it in. It's gonna get scratched up anyway when I go off-road. I got the transfer case full of fluid. Once I get this bolted up and get the weight off of the transmission pan, I'll fill up the transmission. There it is. Had to get creative with some ratchet straps here, but I got it in there. It didn't want to center very well. It can't go back far enough to release the mechanism. There. Piece of shit. Okay. Alright, that's all done. I got 4 quarts of transmission fluid in the transmission, filled up the transfer case, everything's bolted up, drive shafts are in. I need to start it up, let the transmission get hot, go through the gears, check the fluid again. I'll probably add another quart at least, I'm sure. And then that's it, go for a drive. This thing is solid, it's so heavy. I also have the transmission and engine oil pan skid plate from Under Cover Fabworks too. I'm going to end up installing that eventually. I'm not going to do it yet, not until I replace the rear main seal and get the oil pan and all that stuff taken care of, because I'll just have to take it off anyway after that. So by the time I get all that done, I'll be ready for another couple inches of lift-ish and build my axles and put 35s on this thing. Alright, so I've been driving the LJ for a while now, and it's been doing really good. I haven't had any issues except for one small problem. It has a vibration now between 45 and 55 miles an hour. It starts to vibrate, not terribly, but it wasn't there before. And I think the problem is the rear pinion angle. Because of the belly up and everything, the pinion angle is too low. And with that slip yoke eliminator, that pinion should be pointing directly at the transfer case, and it's not. It's still kind of parallel to the ground. So these are going to be my next install. These are double adjustable rear upper control arms from Curry, or from Rock Jock. They'll always be known as Curry to me, but so I got the Johnny joints at both ends. Everything's greasable. So I'll be putting these in. These will be my first suspension change to the Jeep. I'm definitely going to do double adjustables on the uppers, probably for the front as well, and then I'll do single adjustables for the lowers whenever I get to that point. I don't need them right now though. So no leaks. Transmission pan is no longer leaking. Transfer case is not leaking. And I also replaced the valve cover gasket around the same time as everything else that I was doing in this video. And that solved 99% of my leaks. I think the rear main seal probably still needs to be changed, so I'll do that eventually. But I can park it in a friend's driveway now, and it doesn't stain their driveway, so that's nice. It was really bad when I first got this thing. It was dripping pretty good. And I think the majority of that was the valve cover gasket, because it was installed wrong by whoever did it before me, installed it incorrectly. So now that's fixed. So high range, low range, all that stuff is working like it's supposed to. And that rear drive shaft, it turned out it fit perfect. So I'll leave links for all the parts and tools that I used in the description of this video. Look at the picture on Amazon of the Rough Country slip yoke eliminator. Look how they assembled it to take a picture of it. I don't know who took a picture of it like that or why they thought that was correct. I just thought that was hilarious. So as of the making of this video, that is a horrible, display photo for that item, but whatever, it works perfect. If you want a more detailed video of installing a slip yoke eliminator in a 231, I'll also leave a link to when I did it in the YJ. It's pretty much the exact same thing, and there's a lot more detail in the YJ video. In some ways, the LJ was harder because there was more stuff attached to the outside of the transfer case. And in some ways, the YJ was harder because you had to cut the shifter rod. You have to cut that when it's on the YJ because it's too long. And you have to hammer out or press out the needle bearings that are in there. You don't have to do either of those on the LJ or any later model 231. So a little bit different, but it's still pretty much the exact same thing. So next up, I'm going to get those control arms in, and then I think I'm going to start building the front axle. The high pinion 30 is still sitting outside, so I need to get that in here and start working on it. So that'll be coming up next.